However, if you're like me, I've always tried to make the best out of the horse that I had. You know, I didn't have the luxury of going out and finding a better horse every time that something wasn't working. So I've had to adapt to the animal that I'm setting on to make things work. Hi, Dennis here at Cappel Training Insurance. This is a do-over. The sound wasn't working as it should on that other video. However, as long as that other video is up, watch it, because the majority of the points I was making were coming across. And since I don't script anything, even though this is a do-over, it'll be completely different than the last one. So we were talking about bending a horse to get them soft, and the reasons why we bend, and how I get them bend. I did mention about equipment some, and you know, Al Dunning several years ago made the statement. He said sometimes is a really good word to use when it comes to working with the horses. You know, sometimes we'll do one thing, sometimes we'll do something different. Sometimes you get different results from different things, because a horse is not a piece of machinery. They're living, breathing, feeling animals. So they're going to be in different moods. They're going to have different attitudes at different times. And our role up here as the rider is with the situation that we have in front of us, with the what's going on at the moment. We need to work with the horse in a way that the horse understands the best and make them the most comfortable. Another famous horseman, Matlock Rose, said one time, he said, it doesn't make any difference what you put on a horse to ride them with. It's what you put it on that makes the difference. And I believe that is so true. However, if you're like me, I've always tried to make the best out of the horse that I had. You know, I didn't have the luxury of going out and finding a better horse every time that something wasn't working. So I've had to adapt to the animal that I'm setting on to make things work. And the point that I'm getting at, I've got quite a bit of bridle on this horse right now as I fly after him. and whenever you think about softening, you don't necessarily have to get off and go find a snaffle. You can, and if you know that you're pretty heavy-handed, I would suggest that you do put a snaffle in the horses to do this. But let's talk a little bit about the majority of the time that you hear me speak, I'm talking about keeping a horse straight, and the benefits of having a horse completely straight from the top of his head all the way through his body, back down through his tail, just a straight line through there. And that's ultimately the purpose that I'm trying to get to in a finished horse, is a horse that carries himself in a straight frame. But that doesn't mean that I want them stiff. And when you ride a horse straight all the time, they will have a tendency a lot of times to stiffen up. So when that stiffening takes place, this is when I will oftentimes revert back to the bend. And I don't have anything against the bend at all. I use it a lot. I use it to get a horse straight. I use the bend to get body part control. I use the bend to create softness. I use the bend to take the horse's power away if I need to. So what I'm doing here is I'm just walking around, and I'm setting to the outside of the horse, and I've got my inside foot just bouncing a little bit right there at the cinch. And why is this foot bouncing? This foot is bouncing right here, just like this, to encourage forward motion. Well, if we've got a bend taking place up here, and I don't have drive behind, if I just sit here and bring his nose around without any forward motion, and I see a lot of people do this, they'll sit and they'll spend hours just, you know, just bending their horse around like this. And that's okay. I want the ability to do that. But if you do too much of that, what happens is a horse will tend to drop their head real low from the withers right here. I think it causes most horses to stand on their front feet. And probably the worst thing that comes from overdoing this part right here is that we disconnect the brain from the feet. Now, I like to keep my horse thinking about every time I do something, I want him to move his feet. So I'm gonna show you how I take a horse out of a bend like this. He's asleep on me right here, but I've set it up and I'm pulling back just a little bit, and I want him to take his right foot and set it right underneath my right foot, like that, and then I'm gonna let him walk on. Okay, so this is just a part of the elements that I go through when I feel my horse getting stiffer than I want. I want to have the ability to move his body parts, move his shoulders to the left and keep him looking to the right. I want to have the ability to have him looking to the right and move his shoulders back to the right, just like that. So I'm using my legs and the body position to help me get some maneuverability in this shoulder. The bending will help get more softness up there in the pole area, up close to his ears. It will help you to establish some willingness when you take hold of the bridle reins in a horse and not have them push against you every time you take a hold of them. And see, the point I started out talking about that equipment was I've got quite a bit of bridle on here. I didn't stop and get a snaffle bit. So how I use it is going to make the difference. If I just reach down there and yank and the horse doesn't understand what I want, naturally they're going to stick their nose up and push against your hand because they don't understand. So I always say, feel for the horse first. So I'm doing this. I reach down toward his face, and then I'm feeling for him. And by that I mean, what is his attitude? Is he feeling relaxed, or is he upset? If you reach down there and grab one rein on a horse that's upset, a lot of times they'll just lock in the jaw and they'll raise up and they'll leave with you. So it's not always just a safety net to get a horse to come back under control when they're out of control. You've got to teach a horse how to be comfortable here in this bend. They don't just go around being bent. We've got to show them that we can bend them and they can stay soft. So I'm asking him to move his shoulders over to the right with my left leg. I'm asking him to go forward up into a soft feel. I'm not pulling on him at all with my hand. I'm just doing what I need to do to place his head where I want it to be while I'm walking forward. So I want to have the ability to have this horse look to the left. I want to have the ability to stay on that same circle and have him look to the right. So what I did was I changed my seat, and I changed my hands, and now I'm leading with the inside hand and my outside hand is behind. If I want him to look back where he's going, I'm leading with the outside hand forward to get the shoulder to come out and the inside hand to bring the nose around. And if I want him to go straight, I'll just put him straight, let him be right there. You see how it's a low stress kind of a situation, and I'm active with my legs. To me, bending without keeping that forward motion working in there is not going to help our cause in utilizing the drive from behind. But if we have drive from behind coming up into a soft feel, we're going to get a lifting of the withers, we're going to get a softening throughout the body, we're going to get the ability to move his body parts anywhere we want to go, independent of each other. In other words, if I put my leg on to move the hip over, I want just the hip to move over, and see him move his shoulder first. So he told me right there, when I put this leg on, I'm a little bit stiff. He moved shoulder first. So let's set him up in this circle to the left. We'll have him look around to the left. There's no pressure at all on his face. Now I'm using my left foot right now at the cinch lightly to encourage this horse to step up and around my left foot. Now I'm going to use my right leg back and get that hip to step towards his face while I'm going along here. So I'm having to remind him, look, keep looking to the left, and let me put your hip to the left as well. Okay? Now I'm going to move that hip completely to the outside. Have him go around with his hip outside his front feet. Put that there. You know, he's got his hip going to the outside of his front feet. Now I'm going to put his back feet on the inside of his front feet and have him step around, and you can see he's raising up a little bit into my hand. That's okay. That's why I'm doing this. I'm holding my hand still. He's raising up in there to see if he can get up above that bit and look out. That's just what horses do. And then when he finds out that there wasn't any escape right there, then we start getting, instead of that, a little bit of resistance right there where he raised up and offered to quit moving forward. It gave me an opportunity while he's moving forward to move the hip to the inside, nose to the inside, shoulder slightly to the outside, and for him to let me move his body parts to get a little more hind end control. So the bending is a tool that you can really utilize your imagination and implement it as needed whenever you feel a body part's not working. And what do I mean by a body part that's not working? A body part that's not working is going to have a feedback to you from the horse of brace. There's going to be stiffness, there's going to be resistance when the body part is not working. So if there's a body part not working, then I use the bend. It's kind of like taking a piece of wire. Imagine this is a piece of wire, and if I start bending that piece of wire like that, at first there's going to be a good deal of resistance in the wire. But if I keep moving it like this, back and forth, moving it back and forth, pretty soon that wire will soften up, and then it'll get real soft, and that's what I'm after when I go back to bending. Now, everything in moderation. If I do anything to excess with a horse, it's probably not going to be good. So I'm paying attention. If I ride him straight and he gets stiff, then I'm going to use the bending to soften him up. If I bend them too much, then when I start riding one-handed, then instead of that horse going over here like this, he might go the wrong way because of too much bending. So bending can be counterproductive when it comes to riding one-handed. So I'm gonna use forward motion, and I'm gonna apply whatever element of riding that I need based on the feedback that I'm getting from the horse. When I look off to the left, am I feeling resistance right here? A little bit, yes. So I'm gonna stay right there, and I'm gonna switch over here to this foot on the inside, go back to what I was using when I was doing this bending exercise to help get that horse looking in the direction of travel. And then when that horse is looking in the direction of travel, now I can use my outside leg just a little bit to help me and have him come off of that outside bridle rein. So there's more than one way to skin a cat. You know, you don't have to do it just exactly that way, but experiment. If something is working well for you, keep doing that. But if you need to get your horse feeling a little bit better, and by that I mean where they're not resisting you, change what you're doing. Dale Wilkinson told me a long time ago, he said, sometimes I'd figure out I was kicking a horse on the wrong side. Well, if those really good hands that have won a lot will experiment around on how they're asking a horse, don't you think that it might work for you and I as well if we're holding fast to exactly what we want? That's the key point. If you're holding fast to exactly what you want your horse to do, then when you ask them to do something, if the response you're getting is not what you want, don't just panic and abandon it right there. You might need a little time to help him find it. I want him to look over here just a little bit, and I raised up on there, and I'm using a little bit of leg. He's still looking there, but I want him to look over there, so I'm waiting there. I got him to look over there, so now I've got timing to quit doing what I'm doing and let him through that open hole. So if I'm always looking for the opportunity for this horse's body, for this horse's attention, for this horse's willingness to agree with what I'm asking him to do, and I give him release, then anything you do on top of their back is okay. Whether it be riding straight, whether it be bending, you can do anything and make it work. You can have any piece of equipment on there and make it work. The key element is, how is this horse responding to how I'm asking? Is he accepting how I'm asking? If he's not, it ain't the horse that needs to change. We need to change how we're asking. We need to come back and show this horse, look, we want you to give us your feet, give us your good attitude, and do whatever it is that we ask you to do, and do it with a good attitude. And just keep an open mind about what you're feeling. And if it's not working, if you need a little more softness, well then put some bending in there. If you need a horse that is a little more sharp and crisp and ready to stop and turn and do what you want, straighten them up. So, you can use anything to your advantage. So, hope you enjoy that. I appreciate you being with us, and I apologize for the sound not working on that first one, but I think there's a lot of good information in it as well, and it is different than this one. I know it is, because I can't help it. I just start talking, and what comes in my mind, what I'm feeling, is what I convey to you guys. So I appreciate you all being with us. Thank you.